hear me? Good evening, everyone. It's great to see so many familiar faces here. If I have not had the opportunity to greet you personally, Shalom Aleichem. My name is Yehuda Dukes, and on behalf of JNET, I would like to welcome you to JNET's third annual Volunteer Appreciation Dinner, Shnas Hakel, Tafshin Ayin Vav. Hakel es ha'am ha'nashim v'nashim v'taf l'man yishmu l'man yilmedu. Once in 7 years, the Jewish people would gather in Yerushalayim on the Yom Tov of Sukkot to be inspired by their leader. The Rabbi teaches us that in Shnas Hakel, we too should gather and that each one of us can be a leader. We're gathered here tonight in the spirit. For those of you who have been here before, welcome back. For those of you who it's your first time, I hope that you will be inspired. And for the first time, this year we would like to welcome all our volunteers from around the world who are watching via jnet.org/live stream. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Soul connection, the link to meaningful life. We all connect to our chavrusas, and that connection is a meaningful one. It's not just one which is related to our learning. I'm so frequently touched by the care that you show and have for your chavrusas and their Yiddishkeit. I had a woman who contacted me recently asking for advice. She cared about her chavrusa and found out that she had a certain Eastern Avodah Zarah in her home and wanted to know how to approach the idea and how to try to help. Another chavrusa called, wanting to know of ideas of how to help his chavrusa become more comfortable so that he could come and attend his local Chabad house. This was someone who was socially not so ready to come. He was shy, never been in a frum shul before. And his chavrusa wanted to know, how can I get this guy more involved? This kind of caring is not just connection. This kind of caring is a soul connection. Please forgive my penchant for puns, but that is not the soul connection. When we learn with someone, we are also connecting them to the Rebbe. And so, Poischim Midvar Malchus, let us hear from the Rebbe the importance and the specialness of what it means, of what this soul connection means. Apologize for the technical difficulties. In the Simcha, the Rebbe talks about how Moshe Rabbeinu is not only the one who went up to the mountain and brought us the Torah, which the Torah, when we talk about Torah, the Torah it says Zichru Torahs Moshe Avdi, that the Torah is that Moshe is the one who connects us to the Torah. The Rebbe says that our sustenance, not only that Moshe Rabbeinu provided not only our connection to Torah, but also when the Yidden needed anything in the desert, whether it was food, water, protection, Danani HaKavod, Moshe was always there and always the one who was able to plead on behalf of the Yidden and to make sure that they had their physical sustenance as well. The Rebbe compares this to a body. How the leader of the generation is not only the head, but also the heart of the nation. And the heart is directly connected to all the parts of the body in the way that it pumps the blood, which the blood is the chayas, the blood is the energy, which enables the body and all the parts of the body to thrive and to flourish. The Rebbe goes on to tell us that we can also have this effect on the people around us. And when we take the Torah and we bring it to people, that we too can be mefetz havat samayonis chutza until kamayim liyam achasim, and everyone will be able to see godliness and to also have everything they need in the physical realm as well. And so we see from the words of the Rebbe that by connecting to the Moshe Rabbeinu and the Moshe Shebederenu, we not only connect to the Torah, but we also receive all the physical things that we need as well. And so when you learn with your chavrusa, you are the conduit to their material blessings, that the material blessings can flow through you as well. And so this is also something that your chavrusa can appreciate and will appreciate and will benefit from. In the spirit of appreciation, we owe our great Akaras HaTov to the George Rohr and the Rohr Foundation for establishing JNET, and to Rabbi Kotlarski for making sure that it continues to grow. And grow, it definitely has. Since starting in the year 2005, with 30 chavrusas, you are now part of a network of more than 8,000 people from 80 countries learning in 8 languages. And we are currently setting up 90 people each month. All of this doesn't happen on its own. I would like to thank our very dedicated staff for all their efforts. Thank you to Nechama Slonim, our women's coordinator, to Sarah Marshall, who is administration and customer service and really holds things together. Muchas gracias, Chai Cohen, the director of our Spanish division and online classes. And a warm welcome to Eitan Waxman, our new staff member, who is now doing recruiting and developing our French division. You guys have taken your jobs above and beyond and as a shlichus, and thank you very much for all your help in making this possible. I also want to take a moment to appreciate all of those who help us financially, especially our regular monthly donors. Your support is what enables us to continue to grow. Thank you. But finally, the only way that JNET is possible is because of you, our dedicated volunteers. Just last year, you collectively have made more than 35,000 hours of learning possible, affecting Yidden all over the world. In your journal, you'll be able to see some of the effect of your learning by seeing some of the beautiful feedback that your chavrusas have given in the dedication section. Your dedication has reached beyond Crown Heights as well. This year, in recognition of your efforts, the New York State Senate passed a legislative resolution sponsored by Senator Jesse Hamilton, commemorating the 10 years of service of JNET volunteers that you guys have given. You can please see page 8 in your journal regarding that. It is now my honor to introduce our featured speaker, someone I have a tremendous amount of respect for personally, the person that the Rebbe appointed to help advance shlichus around the world and has put tremendous effort into ensuring that JNET grows and flourishes, who has graciously taken time out of his schedule to be here with us tonight, JNET's chairman of the Kines HaShluchim, and vice chairman of Merkez L'Inyanei Chinuch, Rabbi Moshe Kitlarski.
What do I need this? This is for what? Been seeing there? Been seeing. Oh, stay there. Before I begin, it's an appreciation dinner. I know we grew up, is for every little thing that we did, the Rebbe would say a Yashikoyach. Told Lacia the story, I think, of holding the door for the Rebbe, and the Rebbe saying Yashikoyach. But we didn't see that this should become a minhag chassidim. And this appreciation dinner is really a truthful show of appreciation. But before I express my appreciation to the volunteers, there are two people that I want to single out this evening to express appreciation to them. One is, the Gabbai never gets to get Shishi, Shlishi, or Mafter. If he has a birthday, Kam Chapta Arain Dort Nachamishi. So I want to give in the name of every one of us, the one that is really the driving force behind JNET is Rabbi Yudi Dukes, and I think he deserves our... The second one I want to thank, and it's not only for JNET, I don't know, I'm sure that you're in Crown Heights, where we had 5 different things going on this week around the world. Not around the world, we had a young Jewish professional ski getaway in Vermont of young Jewish, Chabad young professionals that got together, about 80 of them, for a Shabbos together, and I just heard reports of how it was a transforming event in their lives. We also had 2 Mai Shaliach Shabbatons where we take the children of Shluchim in remote areas, and we had 2 of them, one with 60 young shluchim and the other with 70. And we also had a small undertaking here in Crown Heights where we had 2,000 teens, actually 1,600 teens and 300 chaperones that came from around the world. And, aside from all of the logistics and everything that went on, I'm sure many of you saw it live as it was being played in Times Square, and there was a banquet today. There's an individual that worked very hard on feeding everybody and didn't sleep last night, and then tonight he, instead of going to rest, he says, I really want to thank Ben Sion Cohen for everything. There are things with the Rebbe, which the Rebbe innovated that we didn't find by any of the previous Rabbeim. Take, for instance, the Suda Motzei Rosh Hashanah was something was nicht gefunden by keiner von der Rabbeim. It was an innovation of the Rebbe. To turn Chanukah into the public holiday that it is, the Pirsum Nisa, a Pesach Beisim Mibachutz, the public menorahs, the one that there's no other Rebbe, there was no other Manig Yisrael that turned Chanukah into a yontiv, the way Chanukah is celebrated today around the world. Purim with the Mivtzah, and all of the Mivtzayim. Hakil Bizman Hazeh is a nuftu of the Rebbe. You don't find any of the other previous Gedolei Yisrael that should say that in this man that the Beis HaMikdash isn't here, that we should be celebrating Hakil. So when Chassidim get together, first of all, this is aside from it being an appreciation dinner, which Hakaras HaTov is a nikr in Nishner Minig Yisrael and Teres Yisrael, the union of Bikurim, was Lahagit Sheni Kofei Teva, to thank you for every week taking time out of your schedules and learning with somebody and establishing that soul connection. This is a Hakil, but also every time this year that you pick up a phone and you learn, that is also a Hakil. So you could imagine the Nachas Ruach that the Rebbe has from the Hakils that you perform here and those that are listening around the world every time you learn with somebody during this year. And we see the Teitzas, you see the end result, you see. Now we read the Meleches HaMishkan. There's Truma, it's fundraising in the beginning. V'yichuli, Zak Rashi Lishmi, write the check on my name, collect money, build everything up, make. But then we come to the Parsha of V'yata Tetzaveh. And V'yata Tetzaveh is something that is very interesting. Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned. Does it diminish Moshe Rabbeinu that his name was not mentioned? It doesn't diminish V'yata Tetzaveh. There is who shines in the spotlight in Parshas V'yata Tetzaveh is the end user, which is Aaron and his children. The fact that there's the Rebbe's first mitzvah and the one in which he made the greatest dogish, spoke about Arainem and the Welt durch Limit HaTorah, is what JNET is all about. But to say that you walk around, there's a moiset called JNET, but does anyone in the world know who the people that are behind it, which means you, the volunteers? Kenish Zogin that you could say everybody knows everyone that is doing it. And this is the V'yata Tetzaveh. When you do this, you're the shluchim of the Rebbe to be mekayim this mitzvah of mitzvah Torah, and in adarge hachi nailer. What did the Rebbe want from Chassidim? In the beginning of the Nesias, had the Rebbe gemont. The Rebbe gemont that you should bring 10 people to the Rebbe. Vayakil, Pekudei Numbeis, had the Rebbe weiter gemont, man soll bringen jeden zum Rebbe. Is there any way of bringing people to the Rebbe better than learning a Pasuk Chumash, or a Blat Gemara, or a Sikh, or a Maimer, or a letter from the Rebbe? There's no better way. So that soul connection of connecting people to Torah and to mitzvahs, and to bring them together to the Rebbe, is your tremendous chus. And in this week's parsha, which we just read, there's the luchos and the shivrei luchos. The luchos and the shivrei luchos were both munachim be'aron. There's a moment in time when we learn tashir, and those are the luchos that are munachim be'aron. Excuse me. The shivrei luchos, when somebody retzach up von Herzen, and he has something that is troubling him, and because of this limited Torah of the luchos that are munachim be'aron, you'll be able to become a conduit that the shivrei luchos should also be munachim be'aron. Remember, I was once by the Rebbe. It was one of 6 times that the Rebbe began a yechidus with me, in which he began with these words: "Man darf sich wegen etwas heinzig zusammenreden." And the Rebbe had a vision of something which I won't go into at the moment, and he hinted it to me a number of times. I was very young, I was just 22 then, and somehow it eluded me. And I came into the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says to me, starts talking about that issue. And I began to feel like, I just wanted to sink through the floor. And in the middle, the Rebbe says to me as follows, these words: "Ob du willst, kennst du sagen in mein Namen." And he said his name. "Ob du halst, das ist besser für den Minion, das darfst du nicht am Mann in mein Namen. Kann es sein on mein Namen," he said. And then he went on to speak about metachayis. And he says, "Obe metachayis." So I said to the Rebbe, really I couldn't talk, it's a long thing. But I said to the Rebbe, betach the Rebbe soll mir geben chayis. The Rebbe turned, said with a big smile, he was sitting back like, he said, Chayis kriegt man von Ebersten. Ich kann dir geben a bracha. And then he became very serious, and he fixed his tie, made his hat, and turned around and gave me brachas. Why do I say this? Because you have the opportunity to instill a chayis, which comes from the Eberster, by Yaminu B'Hashemu B'Moshe Avdei, in each and every person that you learn with. Now, what do you need for it? The dedication that you have. We're reading now Vayakol, then comes Pekudei, and there's a very telling pasuk in the end of the whole Melechas HaMishkan. Kasher tziv Hashem es Moshe kein osu. Everything is done according to specifications. Comes Moshe Rabbeinu and he says, Vayevorech Eisam Moshe. Sagt Rashi, what is Vayevorech Eisam Moshe? What was the bracha that he gave? He said, Yehiratzin shetisha shchina b'maisi yedechem. Stellt sich the Shaila, the Jiden come and say, what do you mean Yehiratzin? You're telling us now it should be the will that the Shechina should rest in our hands. Eibishter, you told us, V'yosul migdash v'shachanti b'seichem. We brought money that was more than what was necessary. There was never a position in life that a fundraiser should say, enough, enough, enough. They had to look for something to the Nesiim to bring. Everything was built according to specifications, and everything was built on time. It says, now you come and you say, you want to ask for, you want to bechlal bench the Yid and bench them before they have to go out on a fundraising campaign. Bench them should come on time, that the plan should be on time, that it should be built under cost. Now after everything is built, you're coming and you're telling us, Zok Moshe Rabbeinu, no, I'm not talking about the Eberster. I'm talking about you. May it be your will. You build something beautiful. Now you have to hope by coming to whatever the things are that the Shechina should rest in the works of your hands. This is the bracha that you have to ask. And this is the bracha that if you care in that soul connection for your chavrusas, when you go to the Yoel, there was a time right after Chav Bei Shvat, I got 6, 7 times, maybe even more, 10 times, an answer from the Rebbe that shook me up. I used to get a lot of times Vasatev Liyosid, Kenya Vasatev Laba. Right after Chof Beishrat, I began to get answers from the Rebbe a number of times. Kenya Vasatev Liyosid Lavi. And when I got it the first time, I was literally shattered. What do you mean Liyosid Lavi? When Mashiach will come, you'll have to tell the Rebbe B'suras Tevis. Who was thinking that they'll come at time? But the Rebbe wants those B'suras Tevis today. And this is the time. So when you go to the Rebbe, and you go for yourself, be my dear the Rebbe, that I have a chavrusa, and I'm learning with this chavrusa, kach v'kach v'kach, and he's a miskadem b'kach v'kach v'kach. This is the way he's progressing. And he told me last week on the phone that he has this and this problem, or that he needs a bracha for nakas from children, or the fagizunt, or for whatever the thing should be. Because these kol hamalamid ben chavere teire kilu yoldei, is ihr sind der Rebbe's Kinder, was ihr lernt die Kinder, was is kilu yoldei. So when you go to the Rebbe, you have the same way you write for your children, the same way you bring your children to the Rebbe, darf der sein, sollen kommen, oder die Talmidim sollen euch kommen zum Rebbe. And if for whatever reason they can't come, when you send a pigeon for your children, make sure to be my dear Rebbe B'suras Teva, that you're part of his Mifzah Torah, was nehmt ein der Welt, durch Limit HaTorah. Because this is not going to last. Because the Rebbe promised us that this is the last day of Golus, and it's going to be the first day of Geulah. And the opportunity to teach the way you're teaching now is going to change, because Yemel Tzayin HaTorah Kadoshim Iti Teitzei. Und es hat seinen ganzen an andere Teure und mit des Herren mit Pi Moshiach Tzidkenu. And the whole world will be Mola Haaretz Deis Hashem. So you'll have your place then too on the accomplishments that you have today. But together with that, you have to remember that it is incumbent upon you to be Mekashir your Chavrusa to the Rebbe, and through the Rebbe to the Yebishter. Remember, I took over a Jew from Peru to the Rebbe, Chatzkel Wurmbrand. He was the president when Rabbi and Rebbetzin Blumenfeld came there, and I told the Rebbe that it's a Chuntigen helping the Shliach for the ersten Jahr. There's a video of it. The Rebbe tells him, Schlucken sind sie von dem Eibishten. Ich bin der Memutze. And the Rebbe pointed to himself. Every one that you're learning with is the Rebbe, is the Anoichi Yoimeid Bein Havaya Kem. He's the one that is standing, and that is Maiter B'Tfila. Avkan Noimed Umishamish. In a way much from than before. So the Eibush, I want to express appreciation to each and every one of you. A dinner with all of the best food in the world is Eilu Dvarim Shein Lem Shir and Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. Everything in the world, you could have two types of soup, and you could have a hot dog and a hamburger and a kebab. You could have everything. Mit sushi, that when it was here, with all of these things. Aber es kommt gar nicht to the appreciation that the Rebbe would tell you, and tells you the appreciation that he has for what you're doing in Einem in the Welt durch Limit HaTorah. So the Rebbe should help you. We should go from strength to strength and to unity. I want to tell you like this. You know, you do tremendous work. You haven't begun to work. JNET hasn't touched the surface. 8,000 chavrus, it's nothing. It's nothing. Till you'll have 800,000, Yemut et men anfangen trachten. There will be funding for it. You just get the volunteers. And each round, you know, they tell us, Mit erzählt am meisten, it's a joke, that there was a barber. He said, angekommen a katholische Galach. And he took a haircut. After he finished, the Galach tells him, how much do I owe? He says, nothing, I don't take money from clergy. The next day he found a dozen roses on his doorstep with a note of appreciation. 2 days later, angekommen a Protestantische minister. He says, took a haircut. He says, how much do I owe you? He says, nothing, I don't take money from clergy. 2 days later he found 2 dozen roses and a note of appreciation. Came a rabbi. After he gave him the haircut, he says, how much do I owe you? He says, nothing. The next day he found a dozen rabbis at his door. What we want from you is that each one of you should bring another dozen volunteers to teach. And Yemut will know that tonight's night of appreciation wasn't only of appreciation, aber der Besuch getan auf dem, was der Rebbe will, auf zugreit in der Welt, le Kabbalas Pnei, Mashiach Tzidkeinu, now Mamish.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Kotlarski, and I accept your challenge. Hopefully by next year we'll have double the amount of chavrusas, and again, I also pass that challenge on to you, our volunteers, to not only learn yourselves, but if you know someone who has the ability to give a half an hour a week, please tell them about this dinner. Maybe that could be an incentive enough, but also tell them about the incredible value that you get from learning with someone, and it goes without saying that the person gets from learning with you. And again, Rabbi Kotlarski, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity and the privilege to do the shlichus. I would like to now introduce our next speaker, Shliach of Chabad of Clinton Hill and Pratt Institute, who is an internationally known speaker and the author of 2 best-selling books, Rabbi Simcha Weinstein.
Wow. Okay, good evening, everybody. We are now in Adar, so my name is Simcha, so please indulge me for a second with a joke. They tell the joke, and it is a joke, that President Donald J. Trump is visiting the Queen of England. And President Trump asks the Queen a question. You know, you're so intelligent. You're known for your brilliance, acumen. How do you get to be so smart? The Queen says, very simple. I surround myself with intelligent people. She puts down her cup of tea and a cucumber sandwich. She calls into the office Prime Minister David Cameron, and the Queen asks a question. She says, tell me, Prime Minister, your mother has a child and your father has a child. It's not your brother, it's not your sister. Who is it? The Prime Minister said, well, that would be me. Trump says, that's brilliant. Goes back to the Oval Office, calls in the Vice President, Mr. Rubio. Trump says, tell me, Mr. Rubio, I've got a question for you. Your mother has a child, your father has a child, it's not your brother, it's not your sister, who is it? Rubio says, he starts sweating. He says, I don't know, I got to think about it. He goes out into the hallway, he sees Senator Bernie Sanders. He says, Bernie, I got a question for you. Your mother has a child, your father has a child. It's not your brother, it's not your sister. Who is it? Bernie Sanders says, that would be me. Rubio says, great. Runs back into the Oval Office. Says, President Trump, I know who it is. It's Bernie Sanders. Trump replies, don't be stupid. It's David Cameron in England. The world is changing. I'd like to talk about 3 levels of change. Number 1, there's a micro change, a change that happened to me. You know, unlike many of the Rabbanim in the room tonight, I did not grow up Hasidic, observant, Orthodox, Chabad. For want of a better word, I grew up normal. I'm from Manchester, England. Famous American literary giant Mark Twain visited Manchester, and he wrote in his travel log he'd like to spend the remaining days of his life in Manchester, and he went on to write because he feels like it'll make the transition to death easier. So that's my hometown, and I had a very powerful interaction with Chabad. A number of years ago, I was working in the entertainment industry. There's a knock at the door, and there's two guys at the door. One was very, how do you say, round. They looked like the number 10, and they were both dressed like penguins, black, white. They said to me, "Are you Jewish?" I said, yes. They came in with these briefcases. They put them down on the table. 770, 77, click. They pull out the tefillin. I didn't know what they were. I said, "What are these?" They said, "We'd like to bind your arm and your head in straps of thick leather." I look at the guy, I said, "Are you crazy?" I threw them out. Normally no means no, but to 15-year-old Chabad Bochurim, there is no. They kept coming back. After many months, I finally sort of submitted, and I loved it. And every Friday became the highlight of my week. They would come. We felt bad. We didn't have kosher to serve them. So 10 came with 11, came with 12, came with a blowtorch. We still have marks in the kitchen. I'm proud to say that 2 weeks ago, I purchased my Bachor Menachem Mendel a pair of tefillin. You don't know the power that you can have as a chavrusa. The second type of change is a macro change, a global change. Last night, I was playing laser tag in Kansas. Literally, I was the guest speaker at the Chabad on campus Midwestern Shabbaton. And Motzei Shabbos, we go to laser tag. I was the chaperone. I think I was having more fun than the students. And I noticed that one of the shluchim in the laser tag was sitting in the corner, and he's on like the phone, he's plugged in, and I was a little perturbed. Here we are, we're supposed to be with the students, we're supposed to be the chaperones. I see the shliach, he's sitting in the corner, he's on his phone. I go over to the shliach. I sit down, I saw something that blew my mind. I'm sitting there in a laser tag room in Kansas City, and we're sitting there, and I'm watching on the phone, live from Times Square. There is a sea of Jewish teenagers. They're singing, "We Want Mashiach Now." The band in Times Square is the 8th day. If that's not a sign of Mashiach, I don't know what is. And I have to give incredible Hakaras Hatov to Rabbi Kotlarski for organizing these incredible, phenomenal programs. Rabbi Kotlarski, you spin more plates than the circus. It's unbelievable. The third type of change I'd like to talk about is the change that begins with you. Because if it's not for you, there wouldn't be the micro change. There wouldn't be the macro change. The volunteers of JNET, you are quite literally the Rebbe's mouthpiece. You make a soul connection that goes straight into the cerebral cortex of your chavrusas. It's unbelievable. I love what I do. I wouldn't change it for the world. But as a shliach, so much of what I do involves schlepping Costco chairs, or singeing my beard on a sterno, or navigating the complex laws of recycling. But what you do is the essence. It's the soul connection. The connection you make while learning is so powerful, so life-changing, so definitive. And I have to thank Yudi Dukes, wherever he is. It's incredible what you're doing. I'm very... I didn't expect there were going to be so many people. It's quite remarkable. I'd like to end off with a story, because it's very powerful. It's very important to be that connection. It's so powerful to be that chavrusa. But I think once a year you have to come together and as well as oxygenating the world, you have to oxygenate yourself. I'll tell you a story. I was given the chance to speak at the Holocaust Museum in Naples, Florida. And on the way home, something happened to me that's never happened. I get to the airport. They tell me, Rabbi Simcha, you've been upgraded. I said, I've been downgraded, but I've never been upgraded. They said, we're going to give you a seat on the plane with more legroom. I said, the one thing I need, I'm not even going to finish that. But they said you have to know in case of an emergency. You have to know you got to before you put on the oxygen masks of others, you have to know you have to put on the oxygen mask to yourself. After a painfully long pause, I said, I'm still thinking about it. And I said, I'm going to do it. And it's so important in life. A shluchim, we're changing the world, but we have to come together. I think it's so important. Perhaps the premise of this dinner is to oxygenate ourselves so we can oxygenate the world. Change is powerful, change is infectious, and change begins with all of you in this room. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Weinstein. "11 months ago, on his weekly phone call to his chavrusa, JNET volunteer Moshe Reichik instantly realized that something was wrong. When asked about it, Mr. Jeffrey Perlman told him that he had just gotten back from a checkup with his doctor, and the news was not good. Moshe, wanting to help, offered him to come up to the oil to ask for a bracha from the Rebbe. After doing some tests, Jeff flew in to the oil on a Sunday, and when he returned, found that due to some lab error, he had to redo the tests. The following day, Moshe got a phone call.
My show. We should only hear good news, and today, a moment ago, I did. PSA count on the repeat blood test came back as 5.5. That's a half point higher than normal, which means there's not going to be any, I mean, I still have cancer, but it means that we just monitor it every 6 months and have a PSA test once a year, and that is that. So everything that you had thought of, for me, was, basically a shepherd to, to come to the oil and ask for a blessing. What an idea. And man, what did the Rebbe, look how fast the Rebbe got to Hashem and this news happened. I'm, right now I think I could jump into Olam Haba alive, although I'm not with that merit, but that's how I feel right now. Just wanted to be, you're the second one to know, Gail was the first. So I want to thank both you and Ricky for everything, and I'll talk to you later on. All the best. All the best, my friend. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
We are excited to have Jeff with us tonight. Jeff, will you please come and share a few words?
I'm here tonight to honor all of the volunteers. I'm not the guest of honor, all of you are. Hashem arranged our bodies so that our heads are on top of our bodies and our hearts lie in the middle, so that the head controls the heart. Tonight the two work equally. No one part controls the other, and so I begin my remarks in the way that I shall end them. Thank you all. Thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Thank you, rabbis. Thank you, Rabbi Yehuda Dukes, Rabbi Shmuley Kogan. Thank you, Rabbi Yossi Harlig. Thank you, Rabbi Fivish Dolphin. Thank you, Rabbi Yossi Wolf. Thank you to my wonderful hosts, Shmuley and Shula Goldstein. Thank you, Ruthie Procasia. And thank you to my dear friend and teacher. You know, it says in the Torah we should acquire a friend and a teacher. Well, being a little on the greedy side at times, I acquired more than that. I acquired a friend, a teacher, a mentor, and a brother, Moshe Rychek. And all of this comes to the biggest thank you I can give to any one individual person. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi. When Rabbi Dukes called and asked me if I could come to New York, I immediately said yes. And I said it in the way that we replied at Har Sinai. We will hear and we will do. For me, it was a question of why such a simple Jew would be asked to come and speak. Simple to me means one who believes with all of his being that Hashem exists in everything and nothing happens without Hashem, and that we all have a lifetime of work to do in this mundane world to make it a place for the Holy One, blessed be He. I am one of those simple Jews. I am one of the people that the Chavarasa reach out to. My wife and I lost our mothers over 23 years ago. Saying Kaddish for 2 years made me thirsty. Not thirsty for wine or water, made me thirsty for Torah. One of my friends told me of a Chabad which just opened in a former dry cleaners. Hard to find at first, but after 10 minutes, I was hooked. More learning, more applying the learning, and studying alone while everybody else ate at work. Another friend assembled a group of us and we studied weekly with Rabbi Shmuley Kogan. This same gang studied with Rabbi Fivish Dolphin at the same time. Then one day I was introduced to Moshe Rychek. We agreed to study for a three month period 4 years ago. Now, 4 years later, his marriage, the birth of his children, and my diagnoses of diabetes and another thing, which I don't want to talk about too much, we are fast friends. brothers. The Torah instructs us to acquire a teacher, as I said. All Jews are my teachers. Because we all learn from each other, and if we don't, we're missing something very, very strong. But with Moshe, I hit the jackpot. I had a fast friend who is my teacher, who's patient with my missteps, and who has the answers to my question, including the time-worn question over 4 years. One question, I don't understand this, and the second question, so Rabbi, how does this apply to our daily lives in today's mundane world? I learned and I learned. Late in April of 2015, I told Moshe what the biggest concern I've had to face. He wasted no time, exactly as Rabbi Dukes had mentioned. He arranged for me to come to the oil and to 770. What a mitzvah he did. My finest moment in JNET, in Moshe, is having him as a friend and a teacher. And above all, a brother. Davening at home or in shul, I close my eyes every time I do it. 3 times a day, and I'm at 770 every single time. This weekend, this Shabbos was my first Shabbos ever davening at 770. And this trip to 770 was more overwhelming than the first, when I thought all the time it would be just a little bit less overwhelming than it was the first time. No, it was more. Sometimes people refer to the Rebbe in the past tense. The Rebbe said, the Rebbe taught. And I say, the Rebbe teaches. The Rebbe says. Maybe he did pass away in the physical sense. In the spiritual sense, he doesn't. You walk into 770, he's there, you can feel it. You walk by the oil, he's there, you can feel it. You walk down the street in any city in the country, he's there and you can feel it. Rabbi Reichik and I study Talmud every Thursday. Privately, I'm reading Guide for the Perplexed. And believe me when I tell you, if you weren't perplexed before you started to read this, well, then you are when you start. One of the things I do, and it's a product of evolution, development, and it's a treasure to me, is the Chabad.org app for the telephone. Often when I'm in my car, or when I'm waiting for something, or if it's just a break in the office, I'll put in the earpiece and I'll hear a lecture and I learn. If I'm going to sit in traffic, it's going to be for 2 things: to catch up on the news on NPR and to learn some Torah. We are given a limited amount of time, but we're not given time to waste. So we need to use our time, and what a better use of time than some study when you can. And in your car, it's a perfect place. It's quiet, you're alone. You can concentrate on only 2 things. 1, not hitting the person in front of you, which is a very good thing not to do. And 2, learning from the best. And I'm here to honor the best. Hobbies, I have them. They're not important. They're transient. Ladies and gentlemen, all of you here tonight assembled are a tribute to the work of the Rebbe. He has to be very proud. I know he is. And with all of that, I hear the Rebbe telling all of us, both the students in the Havarasa, if you think there's nothing you can do, think harder. And so I'm going to end my remarks tonight the way I began them. Thank you. Thank you all.
Jeff, I'd like you to stay up here for now. Thank you so much for your words and the obvious effect that the Rebbe has and you show all the people here in this room. I would like to ask Rabbi Moshe Reichik to come up as well, and Rabbi Kotlarski to come and present our Chavrusa of the year with their plaques and gifts.
We appreciate you. JNET is proud to recognize Mr. Jeffrey Perlman as Chavrusa of the Year, February 28, 2016, 1901, 5776, JNET Volunteer Appreciation Event. Appreciate you. JNET is proud to recognize Rabbi Moshe Reichik as Chavrusa of the Year, February 28, 1901, JNET Volunteer Appreciation Event. And this is, to further your learning, this is a beautiful new chumash with the Rebbe's teachings.
We'd now like to ask Rabbi Moshe Reichik to share a few words as well.
Thank you, Rabbi Dukes. Thank you, Rabbi Kotlarski. Thank you, Jeff, for those kind and beautiful words. Good evening. It's great to be here with the JNET family. About 4 years ago, when Jeff and I started learning, we would learn the Parsha Shavua. And I would always say over a word from the Rebbe. And over some time, whenever I asked the Rebbe's question, Jeff would say, I know what the Rebbe's going to answer. Jeff just mentioned said that when he mentioned to me about the Yena Machla, immediately my automatic response was, we're going to the Rebbe. Well, obviously, as Chassidim, we live and breathe the Rebbe, and we don't take a step without him. As someone, as Rabbi Kotlarski mentioned before, as someone who became part of my life, every time I go to the oil, on a Yom the Pager, I always call Jeff. I tell him that I mentioned him, his wife, and his son, Jared. And Jeff's growing connection to the Rebbe continued. When we just heard his voicemail, how fast the Rebbe worked, it was clear to me that the Rebbe was part of his life. There's a known letter from the Rebbe to Rav Shlomo Chaim before the Nesius. The Rebbe tells Rav Shlomo Chaim, speaking about bringing people to the Rebbe, the Rebbe tells him there's a person that moved away. I have the letter here to be a little more exact. A person that moved away, he's not shaykh Tavidas Atfila, he's not a maskil, he's not a oivid, he doesn't even grow a beard, he never learned in Teim Chitzvim, he never even learned in yeshiva. And he moved away to a far village, away from Yiddishkeit. And over some time, people from that village started sending letters through this person to the Rebbe. The Rebbe says, because, in a way of Dvarim HaYetzim and Alev, he told people, Yesh Rebbe v'Yisol, Svana Rebbe in Welt. And the Rebbe says, how much more so us, that we saw the Rebbe, referring to the Rebbe Rashab, I think. How we saw the Rebbe. How many more people we could bring to the Rebbe? One time, one of the Rebbe's secretaries came to the Rebbe, told the Rebbe, it takes the Rebbe so long to open up all the envelopes. Why don't you just get a machine, just throw it through all these envelopes, and they open automatically? And the Rebbe said, someone's going to close the envelope with tears. I'm going to open it with a machine. When I was on Merkez Shluchos in Germany, we thought, speak Yiddish, you get around. Little did we find out there's no more Germans there, there are only Russians. And it's a little problematic. I don't speak that language. But Baruch Hashem, I brought with me some Living Torah videos. We walked into a house. DVD, stuck it in. Subtitles. Put on tefillin. Left some candles. I hope they know what to do with it. And we left. We just connected them with the Rebbe. There's a pasuk in Tehillim, Yavilu Shayla Meirech. Chassidim used to explain it, that we bring a present to Meirech, we bring a yid to the Rebbe. We should all be zeicha, as the Rebbe says in the letter, to be Neiris Lahir, Neiris Lamar, Neiris Lahir, and connect Yidden and bring Yidden to the Rebbe. We should be zeicha to the scholars of the Rebbe. Take it from the Yad Mamish. Thank you.
This brings us to the conclusion of our program. Thank you very much for coming. I would like to thank everyone who helped make this event possible. First and foremost, I want to thank Rabbi Mendel Kotlarski, who really gave from his time and did a lot beyond what was expected, and really, really made this beautiful, beautiful event happen and come together. I'd like to thank Rabbi Shalom Bar Baumgarten and the Jewish Children's Museum, Ben Zion Cohen for the catering, Rabbi Chaim Nachum Kunin for his help with the gift, Mrs. Danielle Lowinger, Chabad.org, Jem, Rabbi Yechmiel Jacobson, and Levi Eckhouse, our journal ad team, Aidan Hanoka, Yisrael Kievman, Esther Malka Cohen, Brachi Rodel, and Hindi Goldstein. And any other volunteers that I may not have mentioned who helped out. And a very special thank you to Ruthie Prokacha for the amazing job she did coordinating this event. There is a special gift for all the volunteers as a token of appreciation for your dedication on the table on your way out. We would also like to ask if you could please take a minute and say a few words on the video camera. We're going to have the video camera set up outside And just a couple words about your name, who you're learning with, and what the experience on JNET adds to your life will help other people also benefit and hopefully volunteer as well. I also want to say that the gift will be made available to our volunteers around the world who are watching online as well on jnet.org/livestream, where they can fill out a form to have the gift mailed to them, even though they're not able to be with us tonight. Thank you very much for your dedication as well. We hope that next year we will all be able to celebrate together in Yerushalayim and be zeicha to zen sich mit nem dalamata b'mheirav yameinu.